Mexico is no longer a junior partner on America's periphery. It is the pivotal node of North American manufacturing, the United States' top trading partner, and a diplomatic broker, turning US dominance into hard-nosed interdependence. This episode is the first of a 4-episode Pan-American geopolitical journey explaining how the US role on the American continent, once and for now still hegemonic, might shift in the next decades. So if you want to understand better what we can expect in this part of the world in the near future, I invite you to subscribe, and I'll do my best to satisfy your expectations. This time, I will try to explain why Mexico's rise is happening now, which structural advantages make it durable, how Washington is countering it, how demography and the diaspora tilt the balance, and where China fits in. Because the contest is about rules, networks, and people, not just power projection. In 2024, Mexico overtook China and Canada to become America's top trading partner, with record two-way trade driven by cars, electronics, machinery, medical devices, and energy-linked inputs. Northern corridors like Monterrey and the US-Mexico border are nearshoring's frontline. Factories, logistics hubs, and data center supply chains are clustering where cross-border delivery times are measured in hours, not anymore weeks. USMCA rules, the rules of the trade agreement that replaced NAFTA between Canada, Mexico, and US, transform geography into strategy, channeling investment towards North American content and making Mexican industry the hinge of US cost competitiveness. Mexico is a remittance superpower. Record inflows are now the country's largest source of foreign income, stabilizing consumption in hundreds of municipalities and cushioning shocks from tariffs and downturns. When US labor markets strengthen, Mexican local demand and small businesses follow, creating a feedback loop that hardens Mexico's resilience in moments of political or trade pressure. Why this challenges US hegemony? Hegemony is about setting rules and absorbing shocks. Deep US-Mexico interdependence narrows Washington's freedom of action because tariffs now boomerang into US prices and jobs. Cross-border natural gas, cars, electronics, and medical devices create a coupling where unilateral pressure is costly at home, shifting crisis-time leverage towards Mexico. The US-China trade rupture redirected production. Mexico became the gateway for goods once sourced from China, embedding itself in the densest hub of US-bound trade. In this perspective, Mexico has a number of key advantages. Number one, geography plus USMCA, short lead times, lower risk, and rule-based preferences that funnel foreign direct investment into Mexican plants first. Number two, nearshoring at scale. Industrial parks surged, prime zones reached vanishing vacancy, and long leased locked in a multi-year pipeline of production. Number three, diaspora flywheel. Most remittances in fact originate in the US, reinforcing local demand and entrepreneurship that stabilizes municipal finances and politics. Number four, crisis diplomacy. Mexico de-escalated tariffs confrontations in 2025 through sequenced pauses, keeping the USMCA architecture intact while protecting supply chains. As Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said, the Mexican government will defend North America as a zone of shared prosperity, firm, respectful, and always through dialogue. And what about demography? Mexico's median age is roughly a decade younger than the United States, preserving a larger working age cohort and deeper military age manpower through the 2030s. A broad 15 to 64 base and still significant youth share create a now or never decade to upgrade industry before aging narrows the window. Demography multiplies leverage. More workers in factories and logistics, more taxpayers to stabilize budgets, and more consumers to anchor internal demand when external shocks hit. Young people means more potential soldiers, and not only in the Mexican army. Hispanic representation in the US Armed Forces has climbed into the high teens % of the active component, with especially strong Army and Marine Corps presence. Roughly 1 in 12 US veterans is Hispanic, underscoring the political salience of policies that stabilize the US-Mexico relationship for families with service ties. Mexico's US diaspora mobilizes votes and lobbying on trade certainty, border management, and remittances-friendly rules. Expanded external voting and consular facilitations have tightened the transactional feedback loop. What are US counter moves to tame Mexican growing influence? Counter 1. Tariff pressure tied to negotiations on migration, fentanyl, and market access, extracting reviews and concessions while trying to avoid a break with USMCA, but at the cost of higher US prices and manufacturers' pain. If Mexico won't help on our border and our factories, we have powerful tariff tools, and we will use them, expressed in the words of US President Donald Trump. Counter 2. USMCA review leverage, probing car rules, energy disputes, labor enforcements, and digital chapters to shape Mexico's concessions while keeping investment anchored. Counter 3. Diversified security shoring, nudging critical capacity to spread across the US, Mexico, and Canada to avoid overconcentration in any one corridor. Of course, each tool has blowback. Uncertainty slows down investment, while diversification sacrifices the scale economies already achieved in the North American platform. The US-China trade war opened space for Mexico to absorb redirected production in electronics and machinery destined for the US market. Chinese companies increasingly pursue Mexico-first strategies, joint ventures, and local assembly to qualify under USMCA and reduce tariff exposure, tightening Mexico's link to US value chains. Mexico has kept distance from BRICS, prioritizing North American rule certainty to maximize nearshoring gains, an autonomy play that still strengthens its hand with Washington. But is Mexico's rise to power inevitable, or could it still get derailed? Prolonged tariffs or a bruising USMCA review could slow foreign investment, stall industrial park absorption, and reroute capacity back to Asia or north of the border. Domestic bottlenecks, power reliability, transmission, water, ports could cap growth just as cars, electronics, and data centers demand more energy and more infrastructure. The demographic clock is ticking. By 2040, the dividend narrows. Converting today's labor advantage into hyperproductivity industries is therefore urgent. We can expect a managed rivalry inside a never tighter economics embrace. Mexico won't replace US hard power, but it will force Washington to negotiate with a neighbor that anchors the world's most valuable production system. If Mexico sustains nearshoring momentum, upgrades energy and infrastructure, and preserves USMCA advantages, it will remain the pivotal counterweight inside America's own sphere, shaping prices, rules, and political options in Washington for years or even decades to come. So, do you agree that Mexico will influence US geopolitical moves for the years to come, becoming able to rival or even counter it, at least on the American stage? Or are they both simply destined to succumb to the Chinese rise to global superpower? Welcome to state your opinion in a comment or to express what you think about the next case we will explore in a couple of days, Venezuela and the US military buildup on its shores. Subscribe and stay sharp.